Dark Knight's Death Metal Infinite Hour Exxxtreme. And I'm saying it like that because it's got 3 X's. I don't know how to get across the 3 X's without going Exxxtreme.
I mean, this is a Lobo issue, so I think the title is fair to have that many X's.
Yeah, no. When I got to the second one and realized it's actually just a continuation of the same through line, I was like, oh. And Connor kept saying, oh, we could just add those backups to this one. I'm like, not really. This one.
I didn't say this one in particular, although I might have done last week. I don't know.
You did, yeah. Last week you suggested that it could have been on this, but
okay, fair enough. I didn't know this was a Lobo one at that point, I guess.
Yes. I mean, Lobo was on the cover, so you knew at least one of the stories was going to be Lobo, but yeah.
Right, but I think I'd seen multiple teams attached to it and just assumed, all right, it's 80 pages or whatever it is, and some of it's Lobo.
Well, it's more like 40, but and I'm glad, because it would have felt like a long...
It would have done, all right. Yeah, it's whatever. The point was clear.
It's basically the story of what Lex got Lobo to do, right? We've seen some glimpses of it, but we also get the idea of the Batman man.
The Batman who frags.
Batman who frags is the other title he goes by. It's Batman Lobo, who attacks Lobo. Lobo gets into a fight with him. Lex pulls him out last minute, and gives him the mission to find the death metal, which is this, super powerful substance. Which, in the second part, and I say second part rather than second story, because it is really one through line going through the whole thing.
It is, and to be fair, it does label it as part.
Yeah, it does. Because the first part is by Frank Thierry, with art by Tyler Kirkham, and the art in this first part is quite good because Kirkham's a pretty solid artist.
Yeah,
really good stuff. The second part is Becky Cloonan writing with Rags Morales on the art, and this is Black Monday, the Solemn Grundy Batman versus Lobo. As Lobo's on Black Hawk Island, he's trying to get to the death metal. Hawkman's there. Hawkman, did you think it was a little weird how Hawkman just kind of shrugs and goes, yeah, well, I can't guard it forever, so I suppose I'll take you to it, kind of thing?
A little bit, yeah. I also thought in this story it's a little bit weird how what is clearly, like you say, Solomon Grundy Batman talks like Bizarro.
That's a bit odd, yeah. It was the same thing with Lobo Batman, to be honest. When he briefly mentioned his backstory, that he's Batman who injected himself with Zarnian DNA, all I could think was, yeah, but why are you talking like Lobo? Like, that doesn't mean you should be talking like him.
Yeah, I know.
It doesn't really make a whole... I mean, it's fine. I know they wanted to have the fun with it and just do the wacky things, but it's a bit
I think that
strange.
I could let slide more, because like you say, it was just, look, just do with it. We're doing the Lobo thing. It's fun. And it is fun.
That said, though, the best part of the issue, by far, is when Lobo gets this dark metal, and it turns out he can basically form kind of like worlds and like universes with it. And we essentially get like 1 page, like the classic backstories of Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, but with Lobo's own writing. And this is pretty funny. And it is actually relevant, because at first it feels like a really... Because I almost thought for a second that the actual story was done and we were just getting some funny little backups at the end. But then it actually turned out, no, he's actually doing this with the death metal, right? So he's actually doing this.
Yeah.
And that's kind of funny. So... This was pretty... Just the dialogue. There was one in the Batman one that really... Because the first one's Superman, and we always say how, we don't have to ever see Clark land in the field again. We don't have to see Batman's parents get shot in the alley again. But there's a couple of moments here where, like, the gangster, the Joe Chill, is Lobo, and he's like, oh, look, it's a crime in Crime Alley. Who'd have thunk it? Even though, don't get me wrong, we have to point out that it wasn't called Crime Alley until after this. One of the reasons why it's called Crime Alley is because of what happened. But that's...
Yes, but it's fine because it's Lobo's interpretation.
That said, though, the panel before this, where... so Martha Wade says, I do, forsooth, my beloved Zorro sucks. Thomas Wade says, pretty, my dear sweetheart, and all that other rich weenie barf. And then Bruce just says, far. And I don't know why Bruce just saying far made me laugh as much as it did, but it did.
All of this did, good for me, because then when Joe Chill shows surprise Clyde's, and then you come out, whom's calling whom's Clyde?
Yeah, he's basically doing his impression of what rich people talk like. Is essentially the joke. And then the joke with the Superman one is basically that Martha and Jonathan are kind of idiots for going off to investigate a rocket.
Yeah, and then it's Baby Lobo inside. Which one of you bustiches is going to change my diaper?
And then the Wonder Woman is basically just talking about, oh, that fragging stud Lobo, I'm going to make sweet bunny love to him all night, kind of thing.
And Lobo likes dolphins because they're the only things worth saving in this miserable universe.
Yeah, because Diana doesn't save Steve Trevor, she cuts off his head. And then we get a glimpse of Lobo Cyborg, Lobo Green Lantern, and Lobo Martian Manhunter. Martian Main Manhunter, who all just say, yes, dolphins. They're the best, Death to all but dolphins.
Yeah. I think it's the Wonder Woman one. Hang on, you precious dolphins. I'll save you from all these insufferable lamers.
I mean, honestly, those 3 pages with the highlight. I actually think what comes after it might be the worst section of the book. I found the conversation with the Brainiac who shows up, and this is the one thing that kind of ties into Justice League issue that we just read. I will say, they've done a really good job of making all these tie-ins to Death Metal all kind of feel like they're following a timeline as we're reading them.
Yeah, the editorial department step in terms of, even if just in terms of getting the release schedule correct, and this being the following week from that Justice League issue.
It's good, yeah.
It's really good, yeah.
So, but basically, Brainiac's explained that Lobo needs to sort of help save the universe or give up the Death Metal. The Lobo Batman shows up. They have a bit of a fight. He wins the fight and sends him into one of the universes he's created. In fact, because he agrees to go with Brainiac. There's a whole joke here where Brainiac's like dressed like he's a 4th grade school teacher. But I mean, honestly, I found the dialogue here in the fight to be kind of just the most, I don't know, not tough to read, but just the least flowing part of the issue. It was just kind of whatever.
Do you know what I think it was? It was like we got 3 pages of the Lobo speech in those worlds that felt so smart.
Yeah.
And then it came back to the real world and the dialogue didn't change. Except now it's not doing the parodies, and it just kind of went, oh, okay, we're just doing this now.
Yeah, because I enjoyed the first 2 parts more than this last part after the parody pages, I would say.
Yeah, me too.
But of course, the epilogue is that we see where the Batman Who Frags went, and it's basically the universe where everyone's a Lobo. It's Lobo Superman, Lobo Wonder Woman, Lobo Flash.
Yeah,
all beating him up. So
Lobo Land.
Yeah, the last part was Sam Humphries with Dennis Cowan on the art. So this is a weird one because I don't typically like Lobo stories all that much, but there was some stuff to like in here. I don't know how essentially ultimately really that is, other than just he goes to get a MacGuffin and gets the MacGuffin. It's more just the writers having fun with the premise. It's especially the parody. Those 3 parody pages are almost worth the reading the book just for those 3.
I get that. Yeah, those 3 are good. I think the first 2 parts were solid. Like the whole Batman Who Frags thing was kind of fun. That whole fight sequence, everything at the start was a lot of fun. Probably mainly thanks to Tyler Kirkham. Let's be honest. I think he did a great job.
That was more on the art, than the writing.
But then the second part was a little bit more mixed. I still enjoyed it. Again, I think great art still. That really suited the stuff we were doing in that. Like the way it was drawn for Black Hawk Island looked really good.
I kind of felt like we didn't really need the Grundy part, the first half of it. Like, we could have just cut that out and just went straight to he arrives at Black Hawk Island and runs into Hawkman. That'd have been fine.
Probably, but it needed the extra fight, right?
Like, it's okay if it was, 35 pages instead of 40. That'd be okay.
Yeah.
You even need to lower the price. Really?
No, it's pretty not that different. And then the third part, I think, as I say, you had those parody pages, which were excellent. But then it felt like a lot of Brainiac text after that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it wasn't. There wasn't any like good bouncing between them, so it wasn't that funny.
And I'm a fan of Dennis Cowan in a lot of books. I think we just did the question with Jeff Lemire, right? And wonderful art for that story. Not sure it really suits this book as well, like as the other 2 art styles that we had in here. I think this one stood out a little bit more. It's very gritty and scratchy art, which again in the right book I really like, but in this here I didn't think it quite meshed as well as the others.
Yeah, I think that's fair. What are you giving it?
I'm gonna give it a 6 because it's all right.
Yeah, we're probably gonna give it a 6 too. I think this is kind of the This is maybe the one that feels like, okay, this is maybe more typical tie-in quality, but it's not bad tie-in quality though. It's just perfectly readable. You get something out of it, but it's not essential like some of the other ones have been.
It's the sort of thing where if we'd had 20 of this style of tie-ins, we'd be giving this like a 3 or a 4 just because we were sick of them. Yeah. Whereas, I mean, this is like you say, this is one of 1 or 2 like this where you're like, yeah, sure, whatever. You're allowed a couple with any event like this. You get a little bit of leeway.
Yeah, that's basically it. So there you go.